Tēnā tātou, our final panel, and one that hopefully is going to have some inspirational insight around our learnings from today. So first I'd like to welcome to stage Zoey Roy. And I'll also have Niga and Sunray and Nekora Ngarapo. Zoey, while they're coming out, can I just ask you to introduce yourself to our audience, please?
Yeah. Tanse Atlanta Day. My name is Zoey Roy. Nesegason. I am Nehiao, Dene, and Metis, a proud member of Peter Ballantine Cree Nation. I'm from northern Saskatchewan and in what is called Canada. And my Cree name, what I'm known by my people, is Muskegee Nigamoan Esqueo, which translates to medicine song woman.
Excellent. Thank you, Zoey. And Negan.
Ha alito bojo anin o osio ni agan a jari yakogijik sa huchapoet and an adish nagas ko bema akang kata meja koi amatanada champa sa huchapoet. Hello everyone, my name is Ni Ganjade Yakogijik Sunray. I do have a stutter, so I apologize for that. And I am from the Kiowa tribe of Oklahoma, the Ponca tribe of Oklahoma, and the Amoa Choctaw tribe on the Alabama and Mississippi state line. And I am also Ojibwe from Canada. Thank you.
Kia ora, Negan and Nekora.
Kia ora tātou katoa. Ko Nekora Ngāropo ahau, he uri ahau no te raro tūhoi Ngāti Pou me Ngāti Kahungu. Ko ahau te kai whakahaere o NNMD me Toro Academy. Kia ora everybody. My name is Nekora Ngāropo. I hail from the tribes of Te Raroa, Tūhoi, Ngāti Pou, and Ngāti Kahungu. Lovely to be here. Kia ora.
Kia ora, thank you. And I'm super excited about this group because they come from such a diverse background. We've got slam poets and community engagement people. We've got, I think, probably one of our youngest panelists or someone here in Negan, and Nekora with his design, animation and design background. And because this is our last panel, I just wanted to do a little bit of reflection around what we've done here today and bringing Te Aratini together. We've heard some powerful stories around language revitalisation and positive stories, some less positive, but we have heard about the opportunities around the opportunities around where we go with this, and the opportunities with our Indigenous economy and our global trade. And we've also had a number of demonstrations by panellists and speakers on the role of the Indigenous media, arts, music, and storytelling in keeping our culture alive and the role that they play. One of the quotes and all this great content of today that I want to reflect on was one that was made by Dr. Lee Francis when he said around colonisation has taken our language, it's taken our land, but it's also taken our imagination. And there's a need for us to unleash our imagination. So the question I want to pass over to our panel is, if there is one thing that you've taken from today that's unleashed your imagination, what would that be? I'll start with you, Zoey.
Okay. Well, I feel like what I was hearing is the breath to breath. That's the statement that resonated mostly with me. You know, I've often really struggled with the idea of being an Indigenous woman socially constructed by the state to fit within the state's paradigms. And I can see that we are actually a part of constellations that are much broader and much vaster than these artificial constellations that have been created in vain. Being in this space with all of you, listening to everything that you have to share, makes me understand, it affirms my idea of myself as an Indigenous woman of the land. And what it also affirms is that when you say you are enough, to me, I know that I am enough, like the trees, like the water, like the plants, like all of creation. And if I can reimagine myself as creation rather than socially constructed, as impoverished or what have you, then I can see that the possibilities are much more vast and exciting. And I really want to be a part of that.
Excellent. What a beautiful answer. Tinoa tāhua, and it's around unleashing our power and our connection to the land and as people.
Yeah, go beyond the social constructions of the state, these policies that aren't ours, and reimagine ourselves like our ancestors did.
Beautiful. Lovely. Megan.
Okay, I think one thing that I took from today is just how far that New Zealand has come in the things they've done, and seeing that they have just gone so far. And I do know at the end of the day, they have a much larger population over there to work from compared to us in the States, where I have a tribe that's only a couple thousand people. So it's hard for us to get to that level, but it does give me hope that larger tribes in the States could definitely go further with what we're doing for our language, with our language revitalization. And yeah, I think that's majorly what I took. Because for our small tribes, of course, we still have to work face to face and breath to breath, like we've been talking about today. But it just gives us more ideas, I guess, to work with our own tribes.
Excellent. And I think that really defines what Te Ara Tini is. It's around bringing us together so that we can learn from each other and we can bring it back to our own communities to grow. So unleashing that connection and the community. And I think we've spoken about community a number of times today on stage here. So bringing that community together. Well, beautiful. Nikora.
Kia ora. For me personally, one of the things I took away from this morning was that all of our different peoples have had a similar experience in the ways that our language has been suppressed in one way or another, or culture has been suppressed in one way or another. And so when Vanessa this morning was talking about the idea of language transmission, how that happens, being able to sit with our elders, being able to sit with our kaumātua, our kuia, and finding the balance between what was done in the past, but also what we can do in present and what we can do in the future. Are there spaces where we can utilize new tools to make those things easier? Are there ways that we can look at different kind of technologies, not to replace, but to be able to scale those things, to be able to save information, be able to utilize information in different ways, and bring it together in ways that are meaningful as well, and then just try and connect the dots. We've got so much knowledge, history and tradition in these spaces, and that's not something that we want to lose by any means, but I do think that there's a balance as we look forward into the future around how we can take the best of those different areas and bring them all together. So yeah.
Kia ora, that's perfect. And I'm actually going to put you on the spot as someone who works in technology and someone who's creatively telling those stories. Do you have an answer?
So that's a big question for the end of the day. What I'd like to see is, I would love for us to be able to create a digital baseline of where our cultures are at right now. The reason why I say that is that by creating a digital baseline, you can see where things move, right? We can see whether or not the metrics are progressing, whether or not we're growing, whether or not we're evolving. So by doing that, if we're able to capture the nuances of our languages, our culture, culture is in the language. So by being able to bring that information into a place where we can access it we not only save it for future generations, but it means that we can start looking at ideas where our communities will start feeding into those things. And then we start, looking at where that direction kind of takes us. And it will be those communities who input into that drive the direction of where we go. And that's what we want, right? We want our people to be engaging with it. We want it to be living so that our cultures and our languages are alive. There was a comment made this morning around people not having access, and some of those resources were the only things that they had. For those of us who have our language, it's about speaking it, living it, making sure that it's passed on, and being passed on with the integrity that it came into being with. So, I do think there's room for growth. Cultures grow every day. We're growing as people every day. So I think there's a bright future there.
Beautiful. Zoe, you want to jump in there?
Yeah, I do, because that's super inspiring. From the policy mind that I've been stuck in for a long time, I know that the net of colonialism is growing. Settler colonialism is not an event, it's ongoing. And, through the criminal justice system, child welfare system, the education system, there are entry points that for our people, and we're being targeted by these systems, and that's how the net of colonialism is growing. And what I'm hearing from you is that the web of kinship can be measured, and we can leverage these digital tools so that we can measure the entry points and see and give more possibilities to more young people. I don't mean to speak for young people, but I do know that what I hear from my nieces, nephews, and children that I teach is that most Indigenous young people are not trying to get ahead, they're simply trying to belong. And I think this is a really good opportunity for us to find an entry point to belong. I think that's really important.
Excellent, beautiful. So I'm just looking at our time, and I just got one more question I want to throw across to you. Because one of the other things that, again, a reflection of what we heard on stage today was around heroes in our Indigenous culture. So if we were to be comic book characters, or if you were to be comic book characters, and you were a superhero for our Indigenous youth, what would your superpower be? Megan?
I guess in a university, I'm studying a Christian ministry and religion, and one of the things, of course, from the Bible, you take from is the gift of tongues, and the gift of tongues is knowing a bunch of languages and being able to learn and being able to talk any language. So I think at the end of the day, I would want to just be able to talk any language. So
I'd like to have absolute control over every molecule and atom in my body. Yeah. Reason being is that if you had that ability, you're basically limitless in what you can do. Enhancing yourself, being smarter, stronger, size wouldn't be an issue. Being able to traverse different atmospheres or go to different places, and then to be, if you were able to do that, you literally could be one with the universe in one go. So, yeah.
Okay, so the superpower of controlling every molecular cell in your body. Excellent. And Zoe, what's your superpower?
Well, one of the things that I notice is that trauma inundates a lot of people that I love in the Indigenous communities that I am a part of. And one of the challenges with that is that we miss signals based on these belief systems that aren't ours. And so I want to help people experience and see the other constellations in their mind that exist. And cast a wider light on the constellations that are in people's minds. Yeah.
Excellent. I don't quite know how to describe that as a superpower of the mind and...
To cast a light on the mind, to expose the constellations that are there. You just can't see them yet.
Fantastic. Well, we've come to the end. I'd just like to say thank you very much for sharing our thoughts around Indigenous future and how we can continue to be role models and thought leaders in that space. So thank you, ngā mihi ki a koutou katoa.
Tēnā koe. Kia ora.